and against Judge President Selby Mbenenge. It's been running now for almost the last 2 weeks, and for the last couple of days this week, Andiswa Mengo, the complainant, had been undergoing cross-questioning by Justice Mbenenge, rather by Justice Mbenenge's legal counsel. In this instance, it is Advocate Musi Skakane. Yesterday was incredibly painful to watch. There were parts of this process that were really painful to watch in the past, especially when Andiswa Mengo was leading evidence. But yesterday in particular was particularly painful to watch. Specifically, the nature and the tone the questioning was taken. Part of the critique we've always had in South Africa of sexual harassment cases, rape cases in our courts has always been that you have lawyers asking deeply invasive but irrelevant questions, all in an attempt to unsettle the complainant, in an attempt to intimidate the complainant, and in an attempt to potentially even make them doubt themselves and silence themselves. It is a common practice in South Africa. Think back to the most prominent rape case we've seen play out on national television, and that was the rape case of Kwezi, the Jacob Zuma rape case was it 2006, all those years back. Some of the questions Kwezi faced were questions like, but what were you wearing? What did your body language say? What is the nature of your relationship with Jacob Zuma? What is your HIV status? All of these deeply invasive and irrelevant questions. How relevant was the question, but what were you wearing in 2006 to a case of rape? Had no relevance at all. But it was again an attempt to unsettle, discomfort, and intimidate the complainant. And I saw yesterday remnants of that. And I want to preface this by saying I've got deep-rooted respect for Musi Skakane. In fact, I'm busy reading his book right now. I have a deep level of appreciation for the work of Advocate Skakane, and I think as a country we owe a great debt to him for many things he's done, right? He has taken on really difficult cases with really difficult clients in the past, and he's represented them to the best of his abilities. And as someone that's a officer of the court, an advocate of the law, you have to recognize and appreciate and respect that. But yesterday, there was a part of me where that appreciation and respect became a little bit brittle. Yesterday's questioning took the tone of that. And over the last couple of days, Advocate Musi Skakane's demeanor towards Andiswa has been that of a paternalistic, I guess in a way, trying to speak down on her. And it's been called out, by the way, many times by the panel and yesterday even by the chairperson. Where an instance he said, Ms. Mengo, you're not going to be like that with me, with a very dismissive tone. And then he said, you're not going to be arrogant with me. And all she did was ask for clarity on a question. And he was called out on that. Yesterday, he continuously alleged that she's perjuring herself in a very dismissive, intimidating sense and tone. And he had to be paused, by the way, by the chairperson, Chairperson Ngope, who said to him, Advocate Skakane, only a court of law can allege perjury. You can't do that on this forum. And I think that was an important intervention. And at some point he even lamented and said, while I'm being policed a few days ago, when one of the members of the panel had told him that his tone was inappropriate, that his retort to Ms. Mengo was inappropriate. There is a vexatious demeanor that can very easily, given the nature of the case and the context of it, land as misogyny and sexism that women victims often face when they bring forward a sexual harassment complaint or when they bring across a rape complaint or whatever the case may be. And again, like there were those really deeply uncomfortable questions I was telling you about that doesn't seem to hold relevance, or that you could ask the same question in a different way, achieving the same outcome, but doesn't seek to strip the complainant of their sense of self in that moment. For instance, verbatim, he asked him, Ms. Mengo, do you know what the judge's penis looks like? This is what he asked on the panel. And again, the abrasiveness with which that question came across was again an attempt at trying to inflict self-doubt. And I'm not saying that it's not an important question, by the way. The point he was trying to drive is that Andiswa Mengo is lying about the allegation that Judge President Selby Mbenenge had sent her an explicit picture of his penis on WhatsApp. That's what they were trying to do, right? But the abrasiveness with which that question came across, trying to, when you're trying to tell somebody, you're lying, and you repeat the same thing over as though it changes the outcome of the point, there's a level of petulance with which that came across. And I think it's important that we watch this play out, because I think it once again illustrates to us the difficulty with which women go through when bringing forward sexual harassment allegations, and why women often avoid to do so, because the courtroom experience or the hearing experience is often like that. Secondary victimization and re-victimization playing out in that instance. I don't know if you've been watching. If you did, let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you. 086 000 2032. Give me a call. I'd love to speak to you. Tembi in the Western Cape, Anonymous in the Western Cape. I'll be coming to you shortly after this break.
What you're about to hear is not an email from Standard Bank. Good day, Dave. You haven't updated your details, so your account will soon be blocked. Please confirm your card number, bank PIN, card CVV number by clicking the link below. What? Don't fall for it. Standard Bank will never ask for your banking details in an email. Visit our help center on the banking app to learn more, or call our fraud line on 0800 222 050. Another lesson to hashtag beat the scam. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
We've upgraded. Our new GIS-linked national address database lets us connect with you better than ever before. By visualizing licensed and unlicensed households nationwide, we can ensure timely communication. Our payment reminders are a crucial tool to help you stay compliant and avoid penalties, empowering you to take proactive steps. Efficient electronic communication helps us collect fees seamlessly, bolstering the SABC's mandate in line with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
These are the weekend shows on SAFM. Music of Africa with Sheila Ndikumana. The Jet Set Breakfast with Michelle Constant. Seasons with Khomotso KG Moeketsi. The Soundtrack of Your Life with Ernest Pillay. Weekend Soundowner Classics with Kutlwano Masote. Spotlight with Zai Khan. The Weekend with John Gerika. Rhythm of Africa with Sheila Ndikumana. This is SAFM.
There's no kangaroo court through the media where now Kumbuzo must explain herself through the media that is guilty or not guilty.
I'm a kangaroo and I don't live in the zoo. I'm a kangaroo and I know just what to do.
This is Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
22 minutes after 9 o'clock. This is The Talking Point. What is on your mind this morning? It's the open line 086 000 2032. Let us go to the lines. Let's start with Tembi in the Western Cape. Tembi, good morning. Go for it.
Hi, Oliver. How are you?
I'm fantastic. What's on your mind this morning?
I'm okay. I'm not based in the Western Cape, right? I'm based in Gauteng. So I'm a frustrated mom when it comes to private residence in Cape Town. So I've applied for I'm going to state their names, right? And I'm sorry for that. I applied for residence for my son at Campus T sometime last year, late, between November and December.
Yeah.
So last week, they sent me information that I need to pay for this room that I applied for. The room was 9,500 per month. I paid 18,000 rent, which included deposit. That was on a Thursday. On Friday, they sent me an email saying that the room is no longer available. The one that is available is 12,000 rand and the 13,000 rand, which I cannot afford, right?
Yeah.
So I sent them an email that, no, I cannot afford this. Can I please have my money back so I can find another place that I can afford? But now they're ignoring my calls, they're ignoring my emails, and I took loans as a parent to make sure that my son at least is accommodated in Cape Town while I'm in
Tell me, can I ask, just for context, is Campus Key a private student accommodation facility?
Yes.
Right. So they're not linked to the university whatsoever?
Yeah, they are somehow accredited. NSS, I think, also accredited them. You know, they are, the university where my son is going is after. It doesn't have a rest, and this is the closest private rest that they have, and that the university recommended.
Talk to me about the affordability there, because when you had initially applied and gotten in touch with them, were you told a different story about what it would cost versus what you're being told now?
No. Even the information that they sent to me, it was what I paid for. That the room that they are allocating is 9,500.
Right.
After I paid, the following day I'm told a different story. I'm not worried about this. The only thing that I'm worried about is getting my money back so I can secure a place for my son. Now I don't even have money.
Yeah. Have you signed the lease with them?
No.
So you paid over money, but a lease has not been signed.
They said I must pay the deposit. They will send the lease agreement. So they never sent anything. All they send now is the form for refund, and I'm told that the refund I will only get it back in 21 days.
Right.
When will I secure a place for my son? And I cannot go back and find another loan to make payment.
Yeah.
Because we never had anything.
Yeah.
They are keeping the money unfairly.
Yeah. Tembi, I'm so sorry. I can hear and understand your frustration. I'm so sorry about that. Can I recommend, Tembi? There are two avenues that I think you could find recourse immediately right now. The first is with the Rental Housing Tribunal, or and of course what they offer you is that sort of recourse where should you have been hard done, they will find in your favor and give an order, and if damages are due to you, so too will that be done, or the Consumer Protection Tribunal, or Consumer Protection Commission rather, where as a customer you've been hard done by unfair practices. I would suggest that perhaps hear them out, get in touch with them and see if there's any recourse that they can offer you on that. But also tomorrow here on The Talking Point, we'll be speaking to NSFAS and private student housing associations. Perhaps what I'll ask is that the producers just perhaps hold your number and perhaps rope you in on that conversation, and you can ask a question directly to NSFAS about what from their part, if anything, they could do to assist.
Okay. Thank you so much, Oliver.
Thanks, Tembi. Appreciate it. Tembi calling us from Gauteng. Appreciate that, Tembi. Let's speak to Bajo out in Soweto. Bajo, good morning.
Yes, hi, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Go for it.
I'm okay, man. No, Oliver, I'm actually worried, man, with how you've just opened your show and talking about the judge in Benegan's hearing.
Sure.
And some, to an extent, somehow trying to mislead the listeners. What you're saying, Oliver, is completely misplaced and wrong, honestly, with all due respect. Okay. That's what happens under cross-examination. Advocate Skakan is not trying to be trickery, and he has mentioned that it's really hard to cross-examine someone because people think you are tricking someone, and in actual fact, you're not. He's not tricking anyone, and you see her answers sums up the whole hearing. The answer she gave yesterday, not yesterday, but I think on Tuesday, sums up the whole hearing. She agrees to everything that Advocate Sakana was saying, and from that, I think the chairperson of the hearing should have closed that hearing, because now she's getting embarrassed with more and more things. Notwithstanding what the judge president was doing and sending,
right.
It doesn't befit him to be sending such messages to a junior or subordinate. But she consented. But also the JSC would have to also investigate these messages, the communication that the JP would have been doing. Thank you, Oliver.
Bajo, so just one thing quickly.
Yes.
I look, on the substance of things, you and I agree on certain points there, and I don't want to venture into the substance of the engagements and the questions and or very specifically the arguments being made. It's an ongoing hearing. We learn new information every day. That's not the point I was making. The point I was making was one of demeanor and approach. You would recognize that I spoke very specifically about how, for instance, one of the panel members and even the chairperson had reprimanded Advocate Skakane for his vexatious demeanor, right? And I was speaking about that as a tool with which intimidation and vexatious behavior comes across, not on the substance of it. I don't think I'm in a position to. So I'm not misleading on substance. Everyone must watch for themselves.
I understand, Oliver, but that's the nature of cross-examination.
And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be like that. It's the nature of sexual harassment.
It has to. Sometimes witnesses, you'll have to call witnesses to order because they'll be giving you attitude and sometimes being evasive. As if they are not on the stand to answer truthfully to questions. So Advocate Kakana was just cautioning the witness that you won't do what you're doing to me. You just need to answer.
Just one quick question: did you ever find Andi Somengo to be evasive?
Well, she's been helpful. I can tell you that.
Sure.
In some instances, I think one or two instances she has tried to be evasive, but has been helpful to the hearing. And by the way, I think it doesn't assist her. The sexual harassment cases allegations, I think, needed to fall away. The JSC also must look into the messages that the JP would have been sending to her.
No, I agree with you on that. Thanks a lot for your call, Bajo. Appreciate it. Do you agree with Bajo there in Soweto? Give me a call, 086 000 2032. It's 9:30. Let's take your latest in headlines.
Good morning. In the headlines, the Institute of Race Relations has called on the National Minimum Wage Commission to readjust the current figure to save jobs. The national minimum wage stands at 27 Rand 58 cents. The Correctional Services Department says the majority of prisoners sentenced for involvement in illegal mining activities are foreign nationals from SADC countries. This comes amid concerns that the number of foreign prisoners in correctional services facilities has increased, putting a strain on the country's prisons. And the U.S. says the Trump administration is deploying 1,500 ground troops as well as support helicopters and intelligence analysts to the Mexican border. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
Just last month, it was December, the season to be merry, or December, for those who know that it's not just a month, but a lifestyle. Now it's January and life is threatening watching financially. There's back to school and your own goals, and January is on everyone's lips.
Mara, you can get the relief you need right now and start the year strong with the personal loan from Nedbank with access up to 400,000 Rand. Search Nedbank Personal Loans and get a loan that offers you more. Nedbank. See money differently. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide with me, KG Mweketi.
This January, to save money, you could cut back on your family briars, or you could switch to OutSurance and save on your car insurance premium. Get a quote, and if OutSurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With OutSurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
Good morning, Mr. Dixon. Linda here in Soweto. Can I bring this to the fore when it comes to sexual harassment? Why is it that women will report a sexual harassment that happened in January and report it in December? Why that time gap? Because most of the time, sexual harassment is how you feel at that time. I'll leave it there.
Good morning to you, Oliver. It's Scully. Welcome. I'm always with you. Late night show. Now you in the morning show. Always there. No problem. Welcome. You're one of my favorites. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it. Look, that question I think is relevant to the extent that that's actually what actually also played out yesterday. There was a question of why now? Why now? And you know what's fascinating? That women are always given that question. Why have you waited so long? One, no matter how long you wait, it doesn't make the crime any less serious or the alleged crime any less serious, right? That's the first. The second is, think about how deeply demoralizing and dehumanizing rape and or sexual harassment is, right? That you often have to build up courage to be able to even bring a complaint forward. Especially if you took a mental knock from the experience. You have to build yourself up, build courage up to be able to come forward. And it's a very common thing when it comes to sexual harassment. This is why even children will hold on to information for years and only tell you years later, hey, Uncle so-and-so touched me inappropriately, right? There's a shame that's attached to, if I come forward, will anyone believe me? Will I be taken serious? Especially if the person is a seemingly powerful figure, as is in this instance, right? But more importantly, oftentimes part of the building courage part is also getting information, making sure you understand what avenues are available for you, perhaps even seeking advice from friends, family, about what you can do about your situation. And that can take weeks, months, and in many instances can even take up to years. I don't think it makes the complaint any less legitimate. And that actually, by the way, that question too has played out with regards to the complaint brought by Andiswa Mengo. Let's go to the lines. Anonymous in the Western Cape. You want to talk about Trump and immigration? Go for it.
Yes, good morning to you and good morning to the fellow South Africans and everybody else who is in this country. I want to set the record straight and the history straight for once and for all. No white man originated from the USA. The true Americans is the white, is the Apache tribes, all those different tribes, the Mascoleros and all the different, we know there are many different. If you look at the movie Danny Glover, Buffalo Soldier, you will see how they even use these African people that they actually from the African slave trade and to help them to do their dirty work, to drive all those Apache tribes, referring to that movie of Danny Glover, Buffalo Soldier, over the Mexican border. Now, even, yes, that is very sinister for me, over the Mexican border. And you know, from the time from Christopher Columbus, we know, and I want to set the record straight, and even I want to, for Mike from Newlands as well, there was no white man that was born in the USA. And you know how the history of the USA is 100 times worse than us in South Africa, the oppression we got through here, from apartheid and all those forced land removals. Those people, there are many movies made how those people were treated, and it all started with gold. When they came there and they discovered gold, all those people were pressed and murdered, and even the army, after the Union Army victory, they tried their best to help that people, but even that people oppressed them right up to today. And I want to know our fellow people that the USA is not that wonderful country as it is proclaimed today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I appreciate your call, Anonymous, calling there from the Western Cape. Let's speak to Lucky calling us from the Peril. Lucky, good morning.
Dixon, welcome to the Cathy Show.
It's a pleasure.
I must say you are an asset for this station. I wonder if they know that. But anyway, let's get to the point. Yeah. What I want to talk about, the school fees exemption at the school paying schools.
Yes.
You know how it works. Just briefly, you apply to be exempted for a certain portion is supposed to be based on affordability, but it's not based on affordability at the current moment. It's based on the amount of school fees. For instance, you can earn 1 million, and then your child's school fees is 30,000 rand. You can end up paying 5,000 rand, and I can pay earn 200,000, and then end up paying 5,000 rand because the system is skewed because of the formula. But that's not the reason. What I want to say is this exemption is crippling schools, because I'm the chairperson of the school governing body at the school where my daughter goes. The school loses between 2.5 to 3 million rand every year that has to be written off, because parents are exempted, we do understand, but the other problem is the culture of non-payment. They still don't pay. And
sorry, can I just ask, Lucky, when you say schools lose, does it mean like that's revenue they don't receive? Because my understanding has always been that when exemptions are approved in a school fee-paying school, that the provincial authority, the government, covers the shortfall to the school's revenue through additions to the subsidies.
I'm glad you raised it, because I knew that was coming, because that's a misconception. I always thought like that up until I started serving on the school governing body. Okay, let's start with one. The government pays less than 100 rand per child per month for all the grades per month. 100 rand, less than 100 per month, and for that amount that is exempted, we're only receiving between 5 and 6% of that exemption. The rest is written off. You don't get it. They don't cover the whole shortfall. They only cover between 5 and 6% of the shortfall.
Wow. Actually, I had no idea about that. I had absolutely no idea. So what then? Because if a school then loses revenue and it has overheads to cover, how does it then handle these exemptions? Or do they have a limit in terms of the amount of exemptions that they can accept per year?
No, we can't, because the rule is everybody is eligible to apply. If the formula allows you to apply and you're exempted, we have to give you. It cannot be held back, so it has to be granted.
Who approves? Who adjudicates the application?
No. There's a formula on the system where all your information is based on your salary that you give it, and then the system.
But where is that done? Is it done at the level of the school, or is it done at the level of the district or the province? How is it?
It's done at the level of the school, because it is transparent. It's done at the level of the school, and then because what the school is, all the schools use the same system. They use all the same system. Right. Yeah. And then the results kicks out, and then it has to communicate with the parents. If for instance you as Oliver qualifies to pay only 500 rand a month, but you are willing to pay 1,000 rand a month, then you can do. But we cannot go and say force you to pay more than 500 if you don't want to. If you are willing to pay, then but otherwise at the end of the day, that money, that revenue that's lost, it's lost. So the school has to try and cover that by having to have functions and all these other things.
So here's my view. Might be controversial. I think former Model C public schools has often used the school fee instrument as an exclusionary tool in certain instances. They're like, let's price all the black kids out, or whatever the case may be. I'm making that example because that's the one I'm familiar with from where I come from, right? And I've seen it play out in practice. And so they escalate school fees to such a level that, I mean, there are some public schools that cost as much as some of the most expensive private schools in the country, right? Or in certain provinces. And I just think that's absolutely ridiculous that a public school gets priced to a point where only upper middle income upper middle class people can afford it, or well-off people. I think if it's a public school, it must be accessible to working class South Africans across the board, right?
Can I quickly comment on that one?
Sure.
So that we can give other people a chance. Now, at the schools where I serve, I can tell you for certain we don't use that formula, because they are, I mean, as I said, the majority of them can't even pay school fees, so we do accept them. So at the school that I serve, that's definitely not the case. At the school that I serve, that I can show you. And it's in that school, it's majority black and colored, and very few. I would say the white schools. It used to be a white school. The white schools run about between 5 and 10% at the school.
Yeah. Lucky, thank you for being an honorable SGB member. Appreciate your call. Lucky calling us there from Paarl. Let's speak to Nhlanhla out in KZN. Nhlanhla, good morning. Go for it.
Good morning, my brother. Thank you for taking my call. My brother, Olive, I got a problem, my brother. You see, here on SAPC, I've been requesting the Minister of Labor from last year. And the Minister of Labor needs to come in account because of the new amendments that have been implemented. Yesterday, when I was listening to the money market show,
yeah,
yes, I've heard that some of the amendments have already commented from the 1st of January, and the minister hasn't come to us to explain the reason of wanting to change Section 21 of Employment Equity Report amendments. Because first of all, that Employment Equity Report, more South African companies get to breach it or fraud it. I've got proof of that, and any lawyer that can want to dispute that can want to dispute.
Have you approached the Department of Labor with this proof?
Sorry?
Have you approached the Department of Labor or the CCMA with this proof?
Of Section 21 Employment Equity Report?
Yeah.
Several times, Oliver. I even got one as if I'm speaking with you. One of the employment equity reports that I've got on one company that I was working on, and it's still continuing. And the issue of employment equity reports, it needs to be discussed openly, because this issue of the ANC wanting to the ANC and the DA wanting to change the amendments, and the same amendments, they are the same as the one that the DA manifesto had written them. The same thing that the DA says on its manifesto is going to be our new amendments. Easy to hire, easy to fire. What nonsense is that? They need to come to us, because forever these companies, what companies they've been abusing and mistreating the workers, and without complying. And the ANC have been dancing with them without holding them accountable. Minister Naledi Pandor said we must speak out and speak up and speak out. Hold these politicians accountable.
Yeah.
My brother.
Thanks a lot, Ntanda. Yeah.
My brother.
I wish it was that easy, Ntanda. We don't have subpoena powers. We can't compel and tell a minister they must come here or else. We don't have those kind of powers. We invite them, and if they don't, we try our best to get as high level accountability to these things as possible. But I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. Kagiso in Polokwane, good morning. Go for it. Hi, Kagiso.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Go for it, Kagiso.
So what I want to speak about is in light to what Joe Biden said in his farewell speech in the U.S. So particularly to how he mentioned that an oligarchy is taking place in the U.S. where there's a concentration of power to the elite, and this is sort of like posing a potential danger to the social structures of the U.S. So that had me thinking about whether or not such an oligarchy is even forming in South Africa, to say the least. And I think it is. It is hidden, though. And I think what particularly stresses me
who are the South African oligarchs? Is it Johan Rupert and Nikki Oppenheimer? Who is it?
You know the names. You know the people who usually come up in the state capture reports. You know the people who there's like a bit of hats around their names in their stakes and the things that they have ownership of in South Africa. So I don't want to particularly talk about the particular names of these organizations or families or people, but I basically want to talk about the fact that it is hidden. It is, one thing that I can sort of applaud the U.S. for is over the fact that you can see
Yeah, it plays out openly and brazenly. I'm curious about how hidden would you say it is? Oh, we lost Kagiso. What happened? My goodness, I'm so sorry. Jeez, I would have loved to hear Kagiso talk about that. Yeah. Anele, who's calling us from the Eastern Cape. Good morning, go for it.
Morning, how are you? Morning to you and your listeners, and thanks for taking my call. What I want to say is that I personally am worried about where this country is going. Before 1994, I mean, everyone in South Africa, every ANC member had one wish that South Africa would be a democratic state one day. And I think that was the goal of the ANC before. Then we achieved that in 1994. Personally, I think there was a diversion now of the common goal that we had as the members of the ANC. After 1994, now the goal was about who's going to benefit what. Now, if that is the case, in fact, that is what it is, that is how it is, that is the case, we will never get rid now of corruption. We had a time where we wanted all the ANC branches to be disbanded because the leadership in those branches are now the leadership that is told someone's lying. Now you don't have that power that is on the branches, and that is what is causing the problem within the ANC. And now my fear is that the ANC is such a beloved organization. It has got this brand that it built.
Yeah.
People have got the perception that the ANC is the organization that took us to democracy. Now, I think that is why people are finding it difficult to change the organization, even if it's not doing well. We see all these things, all this corruption and all everything that is going on in this country just because the leadership now that we have doesn't care about what the country needs, doesn't care about what the electorate needs. It's only about what the people who have been elected to leadership positions want. Now it's all about them. That is why we have a problem. I don't know how are we going to deal with this, but I wish if the ANC wants to retain its former glory, I wish the ANC could take back the power to the branches. And I wish that the leaders can be patriotic as the leaders who we had before. Because if we had leaders who were patriotic, they wouldn't allow this country to be in such a state. Each and every financial year end, you will find the Auditor General will tell you which municipalities, which departments the government funds. Yet you have, on the other hand, a high unemployment rate. That shows that there is a lack of patriotism within our leaders. You find that we've got things that we prioritize. For instance, our government prioritizes things like building RDP houses when we've got so much important things that we should be prioritizing, like employment, like your education and the health system of the country.
Okay.
And now it has gone in so much that it has gone so far that it's now too much complicated. It's not easy for one to uproot corruption. Even if there is a new party that will vote in, it will tell us that it's still dealing with corruption. It will take years and years now to deal with corruption. It's really going to take years. We've got a backlog. As I'm speaking to you now, you find that there are a lot of students who are looking for a place to study at tertiary institutions. This happens every year because we've got scores of children who pass grade 12 each and every year, but there isn't enough universities to accommodate them.
Yeah.
After they've graduated from those universities and SETs, there is just no place for them to work. Yet, on the other hand, we've got the private sector that is neglected by the government. I'm an entrepreneur myself. You will go to all these lending institutions seeking...
Just a quick question. you're listing all these issues, none of which are new issues. Before that, you listed the internal collapse of the ANC. Do you think the ANC has any answers? Because you sound like you're an ANC member. I'm not sure. Do you think the ANC has answers to any of these things that they could, with their internal collapse, deliver to South Africans?
I'm the member of the ANC, and I've been a member of the ANC for as long as before 1994. The ANC has answers to these problems, but it's just that they don't want to implement those answers, because if those answers are implemented, then the people who are in leadership positions won't benefit. That's a problem.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks a lot for your call. Appreciate it. Anele calling us there from the Eastern Cape. Tagatayo in Cape Town. Tagatayo, good morning.
Good morning, Oliver. Thanks very much. Oliver, if you remember, I think it was Popela Matloti was the Minister of Health then.
Who?
When she said, Popela Matloti, she was the Minister of Health when she said that the South African patients, she found them lying on the floor when the foreign nationals...
Oh, you mean the MEC? Sorry, I was like, at what point was Poppy Ramatuba the Minister of... Oh,
yes,
you mean the
yes,
MEC in Limpopo? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Sorry.
Now we had Mr. Singabako Numalo is also claiming that the foreign nationals who were illegally mining are the ones who are making our jail full now. And that is also affecting the South African government taxpayers, because those people, they need to be looked after, because they also need education, food, education like we do to our prisoners. So that thing, I think our government is going to come back to us when Oliver, because...
So we are faced with two choices, right? One of which is you imprison somebody who is a foreign national. Invariably, if they're an undocumented foreign national, you can repatriate them to their country. These artisanal miners are well known to be where they come from, right? Countries like Lesotho, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Malawi. We know the countries.
Yes.
Or you say, hey, these people have broken the law. We are going to imprison them in South African prisons.
Yes.
The risk is if you repatriate them back to their countries, chances are, given our porous borders, they might once again make their way back in. Governance is a very tough thing, because it's sometimes not a decision between what is right and wrong, but about what is between the least wrong option or the least detrimental option. If you were in the position to make that decision, what is the decision you would make?
Thanks very much for asking, Oliver. What I was going to do, because we are talking about the United Africa, I think those leaders of those countries, whenever we found there are people in our country and they committed some crime, they need to take their people back to their own prisons, so that they must be sentenced in their own country, other than affecting our taxpayers' money in our own country. Because if you remember, there was a gentleman in Cape Town, I think it was in Kudul prison.
So you would repatriate them? If someone commits a crime and they're not a South African citizen, you would trial them, sentence them, imprison them, but then repatriate them. Is that what you would do?
Yes, I think, when Oliver, before I stop, we need to find a common law. If we are really United African, if somebody is doing something wrong in another country, instead of just overfilling the infrastructure of the other country, repatriate that person to his own country, so that we must just avoid this thing of overflowing our own prisons. Thanks, Oliver.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate your call. Takataya calling us from Cape Town. Vuyan in Cape Town, do you agree with that position?
Yes, sir. This is Ras Vuyan in Cape Town, sir.
Do you agree with that point made by Takataya?
Yes, sir. I want to talking about those guys is in jail, you see, like those guys, Zimbabwe and Mozambique. You see, our government, including the government of South Africa, sir, does it make a solution about these people? Me, as a government of South Africa, I send this message to Mr. Namgwangwa. Namgwangwa, what about your people is in my country, but they doing a bad things? And the children of South Africa, they want also this work, but these people, they do a bad thing. I'm a Rasta man in Cape Town, so I can't follow the politician, but this is a crisis. Because we as a Rasta, we see this thing is a tribal massacre, brother.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Vuyan. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Vuyani calling us there. Vuyani calling us from Cape Town. Let's speak to Sherwin in Cape Town. Sherwin, good morning.
Good
Hi,
morning,
Sherwin.
Oliver.
Hi, Sherwin. Go for it.
Good morning, Oliver. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Sherwin, you and I have a minute, so go for it.
I would like to capitalize a maximum on the minimum of the language, and especially the Afrikaans language. You know that the sovereign Aboriginal people of South Africa and South Africa, then in particular, as the race classification, the colours are predominantly utilizing the language of Afrikaans as communication.
Yeah.
In Tula Siswe's program early this morning, it was referred to that it is utilized by the white settlers. But what one should bear in mind was that it was all about economic control, and those were the people who was economically in control of the country. And academically, they have had access and control of printing of the print media, the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers, and they were primarily utilizing Afrikaans, not as a building bridge, but as to divide people and also to oppress people. So I would like to put the record straight around Afrikaans and who identify with the language of Afrikaans primarily. It is the so-called colours as per the race classification. The descendants of the Khoi, the San, the Komani, and the Bushmen.
And
that
the
was the
Maasai.
Yeah, and even your descendants, Oliver. And I do not know what are you doing on the morning program. We enjoy you on the night program.
I'm just visiting. Yeah, I'll be back there tonight.
Yeah, you're handling it well.
Thank you so
And I
much. Appreciate
you.
it. Yeah,
And-
appreciate it. Thank you so much, Sherwin, calling us there from Cape Town. On the other side of this, we talk about municipalities and their ability to collect money from services, and whether or not a boycott of paying services is ever justified. And Musa has your latest news bulletin. It's 10 o'clock.
In our top stories, ConCourt rejects Mutata's application to overturn his impeachment, and foreign prisoners worsening overcrowding problem in correctional facilities. Good morning. The Constitutional Court has dismissed impeached Judge Nkola Mutata's bid to challenge his removal from office. In its order, the Apex Court has concluded that no case had been made out for direct access. Mutata was removed from office following the National Assembly vote in February last year. 296 members of Parliament voted in favour of his removal from judicial office. Mutata was found guilty of drunk driving in 2009. He was impeached last year after a judicial conduct tribunal found him guilty of gross misconduct. The Institute of Race Relations has called on the National Minimum Wage Commission to readjust the current figure to save jobs. The national minimum wage stands at 27 Rand 58 cents. The institute says the increase has led to a staggering 230,000 job losses in 2024 alone. It says this is too high. Legal Executive Director at the Institute of Race Relations, Gabriel Crows.
In other countries, they know that the minimum wage is destroying jobs, but they think it's worth it because they've only got 2 or 3 or 4% unemployment, and they're more interested in those who keep their jobs getting a raise. But here, with unemployment being officially above 30%, and with all the polling by the Institute of Race Relations pointing to that being the biggest problem, we say we need to prioritize the poor work seekers who are being excluded from the job market and those who just had jobs, were just starting to get that work experience to grow. We need to focus our attention on them and do what we can to help them, which means relaxing the minimum wage requirements.
The Correctional Services Department says the majority of prisoners sentenced for involvement in illegal mining activities are foreign nationals from SADC countries. This comes amid concerns that the number of foreign prisoners in correctional services facilities has increased, putting a strain on the country's prisons. Parliament's Correctional Services Committee yesterday released figures which showed that over 22,500 foreigners are currently incarcerated in correctional centres. The department spokesperson Singabako Nxumalo says they are engaging relevant stakeholders to discuss the deportation of some foreign prisoners to their countries of origin.
We do work with other departments where we continuously indicate to them that the situation is not looking good, and some of these people say if the sooner they take them back to their countries of origin, the better, because the strain that they impose on the system is quite a lot, because it is stretching our resources as correctional services, because when they are with us, we then have to make it a point that nutritional services are available. When they are sick, healthcare must be provided. There's quite a lot, so it's not just keeping a human being there. Then it means now more resources must be made available to them.
The chairperson of the House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders in KwaZulu-Natal, Chief Sfiso Shinga, has called on the Zulu nation to stand up and defend the liquidation of Itala Bank. The Prudential Authority, a regulator under the Reserve Bank, has announced that it has filed papers in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg for the provisional liquidation of Itala Bank. National Treasury has assured depositors of the bank that a government guarantee will protect their money. Shinga says Itala Bank has low interest rates and it's the only bank that serves the poor.
Our bank is the only bank that services the poor people in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and with low interest rates. The time has come now for the Zulus to unite and defend the bank. Let's stand together and defend it by all means.
And finally, the U.S. says the Trump administration is deploying 1,500 ground troops as well as support helicopters and intelligence analysts to the Mexican border. The acting U.S. Secretary of Defense says President Donald Trump has ordered him to support Homeland Security in taking complete operational control of the southern border. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Mexican authorities have begun constructing massive tent shelters to prepare for a possible influx of Mexican returnees. Mexico's Interior Minister Rosa Rodriguez says the government is ready to support the returnees.
The government of Mexico has the operational capacity to assist our returning brothers and sisters. They are not alone. On this side of the border, we are ready to receive them.
Recapping the top story, the Constitutional Court has dismissed impeached Judge Nkola Mutata's bid to challenge his removal from office. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Hi, my name is Kutlwana Masote, your host of Weekend Sundowner Classics every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. exclusively on SAFM. Now, this is where you get your best classical music jams on any radio platform. Join me every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between 4 and 7 p.m. Weekend Sundowner Classics.
The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
It is 7 minutes after 10 o'clock. This is The Talking Point. My name is Oliver Dixon. Thank you so much for being with us. Really do appreciate it. And in this hour, we're going to be in conversation with SALGA. We're going to be speaking to Lance Jewell, who's the Chief Operations Officer at the South African Local Government Association, SALGA. And we're going to be talking about the financial challenges of revenue collection of municipalities, and especially the role that ratepayers associations that often encourage boycotting of rate paying, asking residents to withhold their rates and taxes, what impact that has on the fiscal viability of local government And of course, already local government has a collection problem, with the national average at some point having reached something like 58% last week, when the standard that National Treasury had set, or the target that has been set, is 95%. Some municipalities collect close to 95%. Some fall very short of collecting 95% of the revenue for the services they had rendered. Municipalities collectively owed Eskom something to the tune of 95 billion rand. And I want to put that in perspective for you, because that 95 billion rand that municipalities owe to Eskom means that that's money for electricity they provided but have not collected money for. Think about that. We're going to be speaking to Lansho. But before we do that, let's have a listen at some of your WhatsApp voice notes that came through in the previous hour.
Good morning, SAFM and all the listeners. I like to say this, the government, especially the Minister of Police, you must organize the soldier. You must come here in Cape Town, and you must not tell the media when he's going to come. They just come as a surprise so that he can go all over on the location. He must search the firearm, because there are a lot of firearms here. Lot of firearms, young guys, young boys, aged from 17, 15, they have firearms, just robbing the people, hijacking cars, a lot of things that is not going well here in Cape Town. Please, Mr. President, if you're listening, can you organize the soldier? There is no other way that we must fight this crime here in Cape Town. He must come, the soldier, he must search each and every household. Thank you, Anonymous from Cape Town.
Oliver, it is said that when the majority of the people are exempted in the school fees, the burden is now moved to those parents who are affording. They're subsidizing those students of those parents who are not paying. It's a very painful situation, because when the government did that, the government was supposed to take care of that one. They were supposed to pay for that subsidy, because now you are supposed to give them exemption, but you are shifting it to other parents who are paying, and it's not fair to other parents, really.
Hi, Oliver. Errol, Durban. Yeah, look, I actually agree with you. The type of questions that Judge Sekani asked this poor woman, yeah, they were demeaning. And then he was trying to intimidate her. And yeah, as you say, no wonder so many women don't come forward after they've been sexually molested or raped. Yeah, no, well done, Oliver. Errol, Durban.
You, Oliver, I don't know what to think of it. I'm all by myself in the house. The way I was so screamed when you said the question. I'm a female myself, but I'm to be honest, I don't know what to think of this case. Honestly, I do not know what to think of this case. But the question that you just told us about, that Moses Kakane, the advocate, has asked to Andy, so I screamed. I would faint myself. I wouldn't even know if I would put on that stand what to answer. Yo, son. Hi, Olive. Hi,
Good morning, Oliver. It's Mtun Teben. You know, Oliver, like, to be honest with you, I completely disagree with you on this. Like, I completely disagree with you on this regarding the matter of Judge President. No, man, like, no. Like, how do you expect one to test the integrity of the testimony? Because if one is sure of what transpired, what happened, then he or she should be comfortable to ask each and every question which is coming after him or her. So this thing of people need to ask questions in a certain way, you are saying that there are questions which are relevant, which are not relevant. Like, how do you know? How do you know that those questions are not? No, like, it's wrong, Oliver, to be honest with you. Like, I completely disagree with you on that. Like, let us allow the court proceeding to take place, and then after that, the judge will say who is wrong, who is right.
Look, that's the beauty of talk radio and democracy. We can agree and disagree on many different issues, and I like that. Thank you so much. 12 minutes after 10 o'clock. Let's take a spot break. On the other side of that, we speak to Salga.
The Natal Rich Boys want to demonstrate their wealth with a win to reach the last 16. But the Buccaneers say they will illustrate why they are the reigning champions. This is the Nedbank Cup round of 32. British Bay FC battles it out with Orlando Pirates FC this Sunday, 26 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
14 minutes after 10 o'clock. Ratepayers associations are useful, very, very useful in organizing, speaking with a united voice, presenting their issues, frustrations and limitations to various stakeholders, very specifically and importantly the municipality. But they yield great power in that they can organize ratepayers to often withhold their rates and taxes in instances where services aren't delivered. But there's a method to the madness. It seems very fair that if you pay for a certain service and that service does not get delivered, surely then it means you should no longer pay for the service. That seems to be a fairly logical position to hold. But it's seemingly also an unuseful one for local municipalities, and perhaps even in certain instances, an illegal one. Lance Joe, who's the Chief Operating Officer at the South African Local Government Association, joins us. Lance, surely it makes sense. If I pay for something and I don't get it, I stop paying.
Well, good morning, Oliver, and also greetings to the listeners of SAFM, and thank you very much for having us. It sounds quite simple when you present it as such. The difficulty is that in the municipal space, you get the service and you pay for it thereafter. So we receive our bills after we have received the service. Therefore, the service has already been delivered, and municipalities are therefore required to receive what is due to them. It sounds quite simple, but very complicated in practice.
Let's use one that plagues townships across the country, and the one that irks me the most, which is sewer leaking onto the streets. Now, ordinarily, residents pay for water and sewer services. But if sewer is stinking up your streets, are you really receiving adequate sewer services?
Well, Oliver, I would agree with you that we should not be seeing sewage running on the street, or even worse, fresh water running on the streets, because these are resources that are limited, and in most instances it's water that a municipality pays for and would not be able to recover. But it is not as if nothing is being done. We are well aware of the governance challenges the municipalities have. We are well aware of the financial management challenges that municipalities have. But there are a number of stakeholders that are involved in ensuring that we are able to perhaps jointly assist municipalities to respond to these weaknesses that find expression. But also, Oliver, there is a role that communities can play in ensuring that the example that you are using, that there's sewage running, that we timelessly report the sewage leakages so that a municipality is able to timelessly respond to that particular leakage and fix it in the shortest possible time. And communities have that role to assist municipalities to execute their responsibility.
Yeah. Are all municipal services post-paid services? I've always understood some to be prepaid and some to be post-paid.
While prepaid in the main is electricity. Electricity is prepaid in not across the country, not in every single municipality, but that is the only prepaid service that we have. The remaining storage, you would receive your bill for it. Property rates, you would receive your bill for it on a monthly basis.
Let's talk about the financial difficulties of collection that municipalities have. National Treasury tells us, look, you guys are supposed to be collecting at 95%. At some point last year, the average was somewhere around 58%. Why are so many municipalities so bad at collecting rates and taxes?
Well, Oliver, it's not about municipalities being bad in collecting. It is about the ability of the consumer to pay for the services. Where in your reference to National Treasury, they release what we call a Section 71 report, which is essentially a financial report of the state of municipalities in executing their budgets. And the last was issued towards the end of December, around the 20th of December. And that report, Oliver, confirms that as we speak, municipalities are owed in excess of 386 billion. And they are not owed because municipalities are not collecting. They are owed because government, households, and business are not paying for services that have been delivered. You would have seen in the recent past, Oliver, how municipalities have gone on a campaign to collect what is due to them by cutting off residents, business, and to some extent even government, where payments have not been received. So the problem is not necessarily, yes, it is partially that there are weaknesses in the billing and collection, but it is more about the ability of the consumer to pay for those services.
South Africa is a country with vast unemployment, right? And if we're going to be talking about household income, the numbers are even more staggering, right? Because only half of the households in South Africa have an income. So that means half of the households in South Africa can't actually afford to pay for services. Yes, many municipalities, as legislated, have an indigent program through which indigent households and families can apply. They get subsidized for certain services, but that doesn't hold nowhere near enough, right? Especially given the limitations of the grants received by municipalities from the National Treasury through the fiscal division of revenue. However, though, and this is important, we need to reimagine our payment formulas, payment culture, and perhaps even the role of municipalities in the delivery of certain services, given the reality that we have vast unemployment in South Africa. I feel there's been a strict rigidity in how we approach these things. What's your view?
Well, as a starting point, I think we would agree with you that when we look at the history of our country and where we currently find ourselves, there are a large number of our people that are unable to afford services that are extended to them. And you're correct also to say that it's not as if nothing is being done, but government itself, at the municipal level in particular, have introduced the indigent registers to assist those that are unable to afford services that are extended to them. So government is coming on board to do that and be of assistance. The reality, Oliver, is that where services are provided, they need to be paid for, because in the absence of paying for those services, we are unable to sustain the delivery of those services at a municipal level, because municipalities heavily rely on that revenue to sustain those services. So you would see there has been an extensive drive around prepaid for electricity in particular. so that we can also get households to come on board and say, what are we able to afford in the circumstances? Pay for that and receive that service upfront, but you are able to control the use of what you have just spent on that particular electricity as well. Of course, it would have been useful to have it on all of the other services, but it is not feasible at this stage. So there is an acknowledgement that a large portion. That's why you do find, as we speak, that 72% of the debt owed to municipalities are by households, and it's by ordinary people that are struggling. We accept that, but we also know that there are people who are just delinquent, that for one reason or the other they are refusing to pay for services already received. And those are the people that I think we would want to encourage to come on board, pay for services, so that municipalities are able to sustainably execute the delivery of services. The inability of municipalities to collect what is due would inordinately affect their ability to sustainably provide those services and affect
can I pause you there? Let's talk about
part of the population.
Yeah, Lance, I want us to get into the impact and the effect of this more separately, and we'll do so after the break. But before that, let's talk about still around collection and the culture of collection. I'm intrigued by you mentioning that there are many residents who are just simply willfully withholding payments and are delinquent customers. Surely those are people that you can use credit and legal instruments to go after. Things such as a liquidation order if it's a business, a stop order if it's an individual, getting them, quite literally taking them to court if they owe you money. Obviously, you'd have to make the evaluation if the process is worth, if the debt is worth the process. Surely there must be a more proactive way to go against people or go after people who can afford but just refuse to pay or just are terrible payers.
Yes, I mean, you are spot on, Oliver, and absolutely, there are many other, perhaps more innovative ways of collecting what is due to municipalities. I mean, at SALGA, we have put a number of proposals on the table. Let's deal with the first one, business. There are many businesses, that conduct or service or are service providers to government. Those businesses continue to receive tenders, etc., contracts, despite the fact that they owe municipalities. So we have suggested any business prior to it receiving any contract tender from government itself, they should produce evidence that they are up to date with their municipal services. The same way they have to show that their tax affairs are in order. They must also prove that their affairs in terms of municipal services are up to date. We believe...
You'd like to see that inscribed into the PFMA?
Well, no, because businesses, at this stage, there is nothing that regulates that, and that is why we are saying that is what should be incorporated into our legislative framework so that government itself can take due consideration of that prior to making the appointments.
So just to be clear, so part of your, if you were to do business with the state, part of your application process or part of the vetting process would be, do you owe your municipality any rates and taxes as a business? And if the answer is yes, then the state, whatever level, whatever institution, should refuse to do business with you. Am I understanding that position clear?
Well, essentially, yes. Government should not appoint you to provide services to government because you are not servicing your debt to the state, including municipalities. It is the same way if your tax affairs are not in order, you will not be appointed. So if your financial affairs
so what you would have to
not in order,
you would have to get a letter of good standing from your wherever the local government where you I almost said domicile. What's the word? The jurisdiction of the local government where you find yourself.
Well, all of you receive a monthly bill from a municipality, and your monthly bill will indicate whether there's anything due or not. And that should be sufficient so that we do not create new bureaucratic processes by having letters of good standing, but simply producing evidence that you are in good standing in terms of servicing your debt to municipalities.
But what about businesses who find themselves in economic hardships and financial hardships? Oftentimes, businesses do take a knock. They lose customers. They have face competition. Businesses have downturn and oftentimes fall into debt one way or the other. And invariably, that may mean that they may owe the municipality on rate and taxes. Surely the best way to help that business recover and actually pay that is to not deny them business opportunity.
Well, Oliver, I think we are going to reach a stage of anarchy. If it is what you are suggested, should be our continued approach. The reality is we are trying to deal with a difficulty that 22% of the debts owed to municipalities are from business. And you would have seen in the recent past where municipalities have cut the electricity of business. The next day they pay their debts. So we are saying that in most of these instances, you would find that those businesses have the necessary resources to pay, but they are not paying. The same for households. There are those that are able to pay, they are not paying. The same with government itself. They are able to pay, but they are not paying. And we have to then become innovative in trying to bring them to the table so that they're able to service their debt to municipalities. Yeah. In the absence of that, Oliver, we will continue to have the difficulties that we currently have of municipalities being financially unsustainable.
Yeah, I mean, we even have government institutions not paying TV licenses. But that's another point. Look, I hear you, and I wonder if it's just that simple that businesses refuse to pay, and when the services are cut, somehow they miraculously pay or find the money to be able to pay, which indicates that they have the resources. I'm not sure it's applicable in all instances like that, but let's hear what the listeners have to say. Give us a call. Do you agree with Lance Jewel from Salga, the Chief Operating Officer at Salga, on this matter? Give me a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. Should the state deny business to an organization that owes its local government rates and taxes? Will that improve the payment culture? I'd love to hear from you. 086 000 2032. It's 10:30. Let's have a listen at your latest headlines with Ann Musa.
News headlines at 10:30 on SAFM. I am Ondelambana and a very good morning. Acting Northwest Police Commissioner Major General Patrick Gasaneng says there are concerns that police officers are complicit in the escape of illegal mining kingpin James Tswaedi. The Constitutional Court has dismissed impeached Judge Ngola Mutata's bid to challenge its removal from office, and its order, the Apex Court has concluded that no case had been made out for direct access. And the Institute of Race Relations has called on National Minimum Wage Commission to readjust the current figure to save jobs. The national minimum wage stands at 27 Rand 58 cents. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
And let's take a look at your markets at this hour. The Rand is currently trading at 18 Rand 56 cents to the dollar, 22 Rand 81 cents to the pound, and 19 Rand 28 cents to the euro. Markets in Asia were mixed at the closing bell. The JSE is mainly weaker in mid-morning trade, while markets in Europe are trading lower. Gold is trading at $2,752 and platinum at $940 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $78.85 a barrel. And these are your market indicators.
Ethical is what defines our business. I think OUTsurance does have integrity. They are not just there for the money, they're there to create a relationship. It's like a partner in business. It's the best thing we've ever done to switch over to OUTsurance. It's a no-brainer.
Switch to Business OUTsurance today, and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Don't wake up to less money or no money in your account. Add an extra layer of security for unusual transactions. Nominate a trusted person on the Standard Bank banking app. If something seems off, they can decline transactions for you, even while you sleep. Get Trusted Person on your banking app today. Visit our help center on the banking app to learn more. Another lesson to #BeatTheScam. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
It is 27 minutes now before 11 a.m. You're listening to The Talking Point. I'm in conversation with Lance Jewell, the Chief Operations Officer at the South African Local Government Association, SALGA. And we're talking about the impact of withholding and the culture of non-payment of rates and taxes on municipal finances. You've reacted to this conversation on our WhatsApp line. Let's have a listen to some of those WhatsApp voice notes that's come through.
Morning, Oliver. Please would you ask the SALGA guest when he comes in, how come it's illegal for ratepayers not to pay if services aren't rendered, but municipalities can not pay for services they receive from service providers? Look at the Eastern Cape sending out letters saying, sorry, please carry on, but we'll only pay you in March, April. And that happens often. Thank you.
Good morning, Oliver. Wilson here from East London under Buffalo City Municipality. You know, let me tell you something, Oliver. The way the rates and electricity is so expensive in Buffalo City, you won't even believe it. Let me tell you something. Right now, they even charge you something for fire. I don't know for what. We pay rates that are, it's so expensive. I can't even, just imagine, every month, rates and taxes and electricity, I pay close to 14,000. What type of nonsense is this? And this is the municipality that gives you poor service. Corruption is rife, potholes. So what are we paying here? No, man.
Good day, Oliver and SAFM listeners. The SALGA gentleman whom you are talking to must just take a day and come and observe the Dizowatla municipality. What a shame, Anonymous.
Hi, morning, Oliver. Bafanas Bia here. I'm calling from Nkwenkwe, but I've got a flat in Montley. I mean, they were paying levies, were paying the bond. And then thereafter, municipality comes and say, we must pay rates and taxes. Although we bought a property, but it's not ours, it's controlled by a certain body. How are we liable for rates and taxes in a flat? And also we install prepaid. Prepaid, we buy electricity from municipality for 300 rands and you only get 825 units. I mean, that's wrecking. It's so ridiculous.
Thank you so much for those WhatsApp voice notes. Lance, you want to reflect on some of those frustrations, deeply frustrated South African ratepayers? What's your reflections for them?
Three key things that are being raised, Oliver. Of course, one can hear the frustration. The first one is the ability of a municipality to pay creditors. And as I've said prior to the break, is that a municipality has to service its own operating costs by generating 90% of its own income. That 90% of the income are from services that municipalities render to communities.
Yeah.
So where we are unable to collect, it also impacts on our ability to service, as municipalities, our own debt. So there's a direct link between the non-payment for services and the ability of a municipality to pay its own service providers for the provision of services. So there's a direct link, and it's a negative impact on municipalities. Secondly, the caller is perhaps sharing the same frustration we have around the cost of electricity, whether it's post or prepaid electricity. Oliver, you may know that last year, but the year before 2023, we challenged in court the excessive bulk tariffs that municipalities must pay for electricity.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate reality, Oliver, is that we were protecting the end user, which is households, business and government, because whatever tariffs are set for bulk electricity that municipalities must buy before distributing it to households informs the price of electricity. We challenged it, but unfortunately we were unsuccessful. And the reality is that even if you look at the current application for bulk electricity pricing, we are looking at an in excess of 30% increase. We are price takers on electricity. We are price takers as municipalities on water, and we are unable not to charge what we are paying for on top of our operating costs.
Yeah.
So we do agree that the pricing of electricity is expensive. Pricing for water is expensive, but it is not because of what a municipality charges. It is what is being set as the bulk tariff that municipalities then pay for those particular bulk services. There was one, Oliver, that was not audible. I think it was the third caller. I could not hear what he was saying, but the other one also related to prepaid.
Yeah. Let's take some calls on the lines, and we are inundated with calls. We'll start with Anonymous in Durban. Anonymous, good morning. Go for it.
Morning, Oliver. Oliver, I'm an SMME. Does the gentleman have the stats of how much does local municipalities and government departments owe SMMEs? Hence, SMMEs are unable to pay for their services. Because I believe it's more than the 22% that is saying businesses owe local municipalities. There's millions and millions of rands that municipalities owe SMMEs, hence they can't service their debt.
Yeah. I want to ask you, Anonymous, what your view is on the reflection that Lance had just raised, which is that there is a cumulative ripple effect and relationship between the non-payment of services by households and businesses to municipalities, which impacts their cash flow, which means that they often can't pay service providers at all or even on time. What's your reflection on that?
Management on their side, for example, with the letter of good standing or the statement you need to produce if you are tendering now from the municipality, if I'm 30 days in arrears, is it not unfair that then I'm not going to be awarded that contract because I'm 30 days in arrears, and it's because I don't have the money because the municipality has not paid me for the last two invoices that are 90 days due?
I hear you on that. Anonymous, thanks a lot for your call. Appreciate it. Lance will respond to that after a number of calls. Let's speak to Mike in Middleburg. Mike, good morning. Go for it.
Thank you, Oliver and Lance. Lance has been in that space for quite some time. Look, Oliver, I think the elephant is in the room, and I've said this over and over, that as long as we do not deinstitutionalize micromanagement, we will never get it right.
What does that mean?
Micromanagement, of course, the politicization of administration. The external, interference. Let me put it bluntly.
That's a lot of English. What are you talking about? Are you talking about corruption here? What is it that you're saying?
Yeah, it involves so much, Oliver. Micromanagement, political interference. You find that there's too much interference in administration. Yes.
Interference by who specifically?
Yeah, those who are in charge. That's why I'm saying the elephant in the room. I know Lance will have very little to do with that. When political parties deploy people who are not suitably qualified to run the administration so that they can actually access the cookie jar. But the point I want to get at, Oliver, is that you build the culture of payment of services. You build that culture. And the bargaining power is provision of qualitative services. When you are delivering services and there are gaps here and there, you are able to reach out to these communities and say, look guys, we are giving you quality services, please do your part, do pay. I'm talking from experience, of course, yes. So I think you build that culture, but before even you go there, we need to deinstitutionalize micromanagement. There's too much politics in administration, and that has collapsed a lot of institutions.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate your call. Mike calling us there from Middleburg. Let's see if we can take one more. Let's take Israel in the Northwest. Israel, good morning. Go for it.
Good morning, Oliver, and compliments of the new season to you and all the listeners. Oliver, I'm calling you from the Kwatemani local municipality. By implication, Dr. Our municipality...
Sorry. Israel, can I ask that you just stand still because you're walking and the wind is quite strong into that audio. We can't hear you.
Okay. I was saying that I'm calling from the Lekwatemani local municipality in Dr. RSM.
Yeah.
We don't have a municipality as we speak to you. It's a body club. It's a corruption school. For the purpose of the time that we are allocated, I may not be able to give you proper handles for you to understand the type of manners and situations that we are dealing with here. But be that as it may, I can tell you that from the employment and the management of the municipality in itself, there are no laws that our councillors, mayors and officials that they subscribe to. They are a law unto themselves. There are frivolous cases opened against community members who raise a different point or a different point, of course, to say that your own oath of office, even your councillor own oath of office, code of conduct, they are non-existent. We have even raised the matter with Salga Northwest with one Mr. Senegal. After we having case, when people were having festive season, members of the community, young people, were facing the court of law, because our municipality has mastered the art of using the police against the community to silence any dissenting view.
Yeah.
They've mastered the art of even entering the court. As we speak, we've got a court case in the High Court in the Northwest on the 27th of February for just raising the code of conduct of the officials. So that is what I'm saying. For the purposes of time, it may not be necessarily sufficient to give you proper handles. I wish that we could have a show again to deal specifically with municipalities in our local.
Yeah, Israel, that slightly does veer away from what we're currently on, but I do appreciate you. I think your sentiment is well captured. Israel calling us there from the Northwest. Mbowana and Vukani, I'll be coming to you guys very shortly. I just want to give Lance an opportunity to respond. Lance, a number of issues there. Micromanagement, interference, political interference, perhaps even corruption. These are all part of the endemic culture of municipalities that cannot be delineated from payment collections, payment cultures, and service delivery. Speak to some of those sentiments and frustrations.
No, thanks, Oliver. Let me first respond to the caller from the anonymous caller on the SMME question that they have posed. And as we have said, municipalities are owed in excess of 386 billion. On the opposite side, municipalities owe its creditors 126 billion, of which the majority of that is for bulk services, either water or electricity, and the remainder is for creditors. We do not know the exact amount for SMMEs, but despite what we are raising, Oliver, there is certainly a policy position within government that we need to service our debt to SMMEs in the shortest possible time. We do acknowledge that many of these SMMEs need those payments to sustain their businesses, small as they are, but to sustain this. So they have reliance on that. And there is a policy position that in the shortest possible time, within 60 days, SMMEs must be paid so they are able to sustain themselves. And hopefully, also pay for the municipal services first before they venture into other debt that they have. On the second issue raised by Mike on micromanagement, and he said many things, but not venturing into the detail. All we can say from our side, Oliver, is that as SALGA we acknowledge that a majority of councillors that are elected are from political parties, and that it is important that we also as SALGA interact with political parties to ensure that they hold their councillors accountable for what is happening or not happening in municipalities. So there's an attempt on our side to engage with the political parties to ensure that at the municipal level there is better accountability, governance is much stronger, but more importantly, financial management receives the attention that it so urgently requires. The last caller, Israel, has said many things about matters being caught. I'm not sure if there's anything I can specifically respond to, but all that I can say is that there are processes that could be followed if there are concerns with the municipality and related matters. There are processes that could be followed to draw the necessary authorities' attention and hopefully seek a solution to that crisis.
Yeah. Just quickly, the role of ratepayers associations that organize households and ratepayers, oftentimes to present a unified voice on their issues to municipalities, often also are very successful at organizing, at withholding rates and taxes. Must they be engaged with in a different way?
Well, firstly, Oliver, we do appreciate it when communities organize themselves, because then it is quite easy to interact with a large group of the population through a structure. And we welcome that, and we also continue to encourage municipalities on an ongoing basis to engage with organized formations of communities, whether it is business as well, whether it is the religious groups, on an ongoing basis engage them, so that not only do we understand what the weaknesses are that ought to be addressed, but we can have appropriate responses to the weaknesses that have been made. So we do welcome them. We are concerned, however, Oliver, and we have seen on numerous occasions these matters being ventilated in courts, and we have seen many ratepayers associations being forced to pay back the monies that they have collected, because it's not allowed within the legal framework for them to do so, withhold, have monies put into bank accounts, and instead of servicing the debt to municipalities, this money sits somewhere in a bank account. We have seen it in court, and municipalities have been successful in trying to collect those monies. But it does not stop us from, on an ongoing basis, being able to interact with these organized formations of communities.
Yeah. Give us a call, 086 000 2032. What are your questions or comments? Let's take a break. On the other side of that, Mbowana and Mafikeng Vugani in KZN, and I'll be taking your calls and questions.
The Queens of South Africa's beautiful game are taking a break from their pitch duties to dress up and walk on the purple carpet. It's a special evening to celebrate players, coaches, administrators, and officials for their incredible devotion to the game. This is the Hollywoodbet Super League Awards 2024. From grassroots to glory. Witness the Hollywoodbet Super League Awards on Sunday, 26 January at 7:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Compliments for 2025, Mangani. Call me Mabel Goals, because I'm coming for it all this year. Body, relationship, and financial goals. With my Just Invest account, financially I'm cruising. 2 more to go. You know any available Prince Charming voice, man?
I've got you, Mabel. Sorry. Mara, you can also be like Mabel and earn up to 8.25% in interest to start the year right. Open yours via the Money app today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Promo rates apply. Go to nedbank.co.za for more information.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
You're listening to The Talking Point, and we're in conversation with Lance Jewell, the Chief Operations Officer at the South African Local Government Association. Let's go to the lines. Let's start with Mbowana. Thank you so much for holding on, Mbowana. Go for it.
Yes, good morning.
Yes.
The issue of ratepayers and taxpayers is on crisis point. You see, in a country of 60 million people, is only 13 million people paying taxes. Furthermore, 28 million people depending on government grants. 23,000 illegal immigrants in prison, provided service by them. Only 13 million taxpayers. That proportion, it gives you a point of crisis.
Can you link that to the specificity of municipal ratepayers?
Yes, because the problem of municipal paying is if the people are not managing to contribute to the tax of the country, where are they going to get the resources to pay for the services? Because it means they are not working. So the point is to go back to the point of the government. What is the position of government to address unemployment problem?
Okay.
And the allocation of people. The problem is people have been allocated into wrong places to extent that Masipala is not getting anything because people are not paying services because there's no service. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Mbowana. Appreciate your call. Let's speak to Vukani out in KZN. Vukani, good morning. Go for it.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Go for it.
I'm good, thank you. Speaking to Vukani from KZN. Now, I voted in 1994, and the language was free, almost for everything. Health, electricity, services, and everything. I think the best thing to do is for the politicians to first remove the myths and the culture of non-payment and tell the voters that there is nothing for free. I'll tell you why I say this. I'm an SMME. I trade with Eskom. I was involved on auditing of prepaid meters. And we find it very difficult to audit meters in the prepaid environment in the townships because you get in on the first day and you start working, but on the second day, the whole township will be marching and burning tires and kicking you out and telling you you can't be here because they were told that electricity is for free. Now, I'm saying, with all the energy that SALGA has, that body needs to motivate municipalities to create an environment that is conducive for business to take place, because with so much high unemployment, there will be more anarchy if people are being switched off, for example, for services. Right now, as I speak to you, in the township where I'm from, it's going for about a month and two now without water. People do not have water. And apparently there was a meeting where people were told to pay for water, but the question is, what water are we paying for? And what rate are we paying for if we're finding ourselves not being provided with quality services? I mean, the example of sewer that you made earlier, it is pertinent in our townships. Everywhere you go, every corner where there is a sewage point, there is sewer flowing on the streets. And people are tired of all those things because they're being treated like animals. And I'm saying SALGA should be using the same energy to go back to the municipality and empower them to create a conducive environment for businesses to strive. Because what happens is your guest is saying, as I am sitting here now, I'm busy doing quotations for different services. If I was to find a municipality that I need to supply with my services, I need to be told that I'm owing rates. How am I going to pay those rates if I can't get that job?
Yeah.
If I can't access the very same opportunity, how am I supposed to be addressing the very same debt that I had, which I had not created myself? It is the state that has created unemployment because they are not making the environment conducive for business.
Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate your call, Vukani. Lance, a repetition of some of those sentiments of earlier on. There seems to be a need for the intervention not just to stabilize business and household income so that they can become obsequious, diligent ratepayers. But to address the nature of the relationship, there seems to be a trust deficit between municipalities and ratepayers, by and large, when it comes to the provision of services. How do we address that? Lance?
Can you hear me, Oliver?
Loud and clear. Go for it.
Yes, I absolutely agree with Vukani that at the core of the problem we have is ensuring that at a local level, municipalities create an environment for business to flourish. And we continuously have this engagement to ensure that there is indeed a positive response on the part of municipalities to create an environment for business to flourish, ultimately ensuring that employment levels are increased, and then right at the end, increase the ability of the users to pay for services. And that we are not running away from as a responsibility. We accept it, and it is something that we need to work on at the local government level. Secondly, on the issue that you are raising, we agree that there's much to be done from a communication point of view to firstly increase awareness about the levels of services that are being provided within and across our municipalities, but secondly to also work on improving the trust levels that citizens have on the ability of municipalities to execute the services. But communication is at the core of this. And we as SALGA are on a continuous basis encouraging municipalities. In fact, 2 weeks from now, we are going to convene a meeting with all municipal communicators, and at the core of the discussion is how do we ensure that we improve the communication between the municipality and those that they service at the community level, and that is a weakness that we would want to address. But ongoing conversation is required, where the municipality on an ongoing basis account to communities on what they do, but also ask, as they would in the months of April, May, go across communities and ask them what is required, what are your needs, so that as we plan as local government, we're able to appropriately respond to those needs.
Yeah. Lance, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I really do appreciate it. Lance Jewell is with SALGA. He's the Chief Operations Officer there. Still a number of your reactions. We'll take a number of those voice notes on the other side of this. It is 11 o'clock. Onde Lambana has your latest news bulletin.
Thank you, Oliver. Top stories at 11. A warning over illegal mining kingpin escape and e-hailing taxi operators protest in Pretoria. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good morning. Acting Northwest Police Commissioner Major General Patrick Aseneng has sent out a strong warning to police officers believed to be complicit in the escape of illegal mining kingpin James Zoedi. Police are still searching for him. Zoedi, who was arrested in Stelfontein near Klerksdorp, is believed to have significant influence in illegal mining operations in the region. Aseneng says strong action will be taken against those who will be found to have assisted the fugitive.
We cannot, as the South African Police Service, allow corrupt individuals and members to be in our midst. We are cognizant of the fact that as the police, we are given an onerous responsibility of preventing, combating and investigating crime. We are expected and required to, at all times, act with integrity, act with professionalism, and therefore anyone amongst us who decides that they will be on the side of criminals and not on the side of law enforcement do not deserve to be amongst our own.
The Constitutional Court has dismissed impeached Judge Ngola Mutata's bid to challenge his removal from office. In its order, the Apex Court has concluded that no case has been made out for direct access. Mutata was removed from office following the National Assembly vote in February last year. 209 members of Parliament voted in favour of his removal from judicial office. Mutata was found guilty of drunk driving in 2009. He was impeached last year after a judicial conduct tribunal found him guilty of gross misconduct. E-hailing taxi operators are protesting at West Park in Pretoria over issues including the impounding of their vehicles and operating permits. The operators will drive in a convoy to the City of Tshwane's headquarters at the Union Buildings. President of the E-hailing Association in Pretoria West, Wandisile Khala.
Our main concern today is the impoundment of our cars. Our cars are being impounded daily. If they impound you, they ask you to pay 6,000. The Department of Transport does not want to issue the permits that they say they want, but they continue impounding our cars. So we are frustrated that we are paying 6,000 to ukuthi si comply ngento abangasiniki yona, something that they don't give us to comply on.
Secretary of the E-hailing Partners Council, Melithemba Mnguni, has expressed concern that the newly launched Wanatu e-hailing platform may be discriminatory. The platform, which was launched in Centurion and Pretoria, only employs drivers who can speak Afrikaans. One of its focuses is on safety, which has been an issue with existing e-hailing platforms. Mnguni says economic factors may have driven the move to launch the app.
We've been crying for regulation of these applications for the longest time. And as it stands currently, there are no guidelines around them. That's why you can have such an app that is discriminative and only selective for a certain tribe or race. And then here they are using the language to discriminate. And we are actually curious to see if indeed they will even hire black Africans that can speak Afrikaans. Because so far, if you zoom into it, you'll see that it only has got white drivers.
Donald Trump has given his first media interview since the beginning of his second term as U.S. president. In a wide-ranging discussion with Fox News, he suggested that he was looking to reform or disband the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, after criticizing its response to Hurricane Helene, which hit southeast of the U.S. last year. Trump says more responsibility should lie with the individual states.
FEMA is going to be a whole big discussion very shortly because I'd rather see the states take care of their own problems. Oklahoma is very competent. I love Oklahoma. But you know what? If they get hit with a tornado or something, let Oklahoma fix it. And then the federal government can help them out with the money. The FEMA is getting in the way of everything.
Recapping the top story, Acting Northwest Police Commissioner Major General Patrick Asaneng has sent out a strong warning to police officers believed to be complicit in the escape of illegal mining kingpin James Zoedi. I am Mondela Mbara for SFM News, headlines at 11:30.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
Life is too short for long-term grudges, but when it's the Soweto Derby, Black and white confronts gold and black. The Buccaneers believe Yonkindawo, Ibhakabhaka, liyaphumelela. While Amakhosi still emphasize Ikhosi alipheli umoya. Experience Mzansi's biggest football rivalry, Orlando Pirates versus Kaizer Chiefs, on Saturday, 1 February at 2 p.m. live on SABC1 and at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Morning, Oliver. Just about that, the sewer running in the streets, the sewerage in the townships. Man, I build roads in the townships. And the main reason for those sewers overflowing is people putting objects into the sewer pipe or down their toilets. I pull out towels, pair of jeans. You won't believe what we take out of the blockages. This is what causes the blockages, and you just can't get to them all in time, so you have sewer running down the streets all the time.
Hi, good morning, Oliver. Could you maybe ask your speaker as to why are they using independent contractors to go into communities when there's power outages and so on, to fix things in households? Because these people, they are very corrupt. Usually the people that don't pay for electricity, when anything happens, they obviously won't call the municipality. They will call these contractors directly to come and fix whatever problem is. And why is it most of them are Zimbabweans? Is this even allowed? Why are they foreigners? So their problem is these independent contractors who have absolutely no loyalty to our government whatsoever.
Hey, Oliver and your team. William here from East London. Yeah, I'm just listening to the gentleman talking about services and how businesses that deal with government before receiving more contracts must produce documents showing that their accounts are up to date with municipal services. But what if it's the other way around? What if the municipality owes you, like in my case, 7,000-8,000 rand when a property is closed and disconnections are made, and the property is sold? That's the deposit they keep when you get your electricity connected, where I stay in East London. But you're still waiting for the refund 5 years later, and they, for some reason, just don't want to process it. You go in and inquire and they just don't process it, and yet they expect you to pay your account every month. So they actually owe you more than what you owe them, but they refuse to pay you. What should be done in that case?
Good morning, Oliver. This is Ronnie from Itigweni in Durban. I agree totally with your guest. However, generally, the billing system of most of the municipality has to be looked at critically. You cannot ask customers to pay for something that they don't use. At the same time, the informal settlements are getting free electricity, free water services. Thank you. Ronnie from Durban.
Good morning, listeners of Radio SAFM. Maria April in Northern Cape. Oliver, to the person of Salga. Things will come right if they appoint qualified and dedicated personnel. Then people will start feeling and own the municipality and can make it theirs, pay their services. But now with this thing of cadre deployment, whether it's DA, whatever party, it's cadre deployment. So they must stop that and focus on qualified persons. Thank you.
Hi, Oliver. Still Bafana Sibia here. I'm sorry, man. I meant to say we buy electricity for 3,000 rands, not 300 rands. I'm sorry about that.
This is Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
11:11. This is the talking point. Thank you so much for being with us. Those are some of your voice notes in reaction to the conversation we had in the previous hour. I'd love to hear more of that. You can tweet me. It is at Oliver_speaking on Twitter or on X, Oliver Dixon on Facebook. You can find me over there. The world is fixated about the question of energy. There's a lot to be discussed around energy in the intelligent age. That's what the World Economic Forum has dubbed its thematic approach this year, collaboration for the intelligent age. But there's an energy crisis, oftentimes an energy crisis created by global conflict the world over. And there's new and nascent technologies in the energy space that present new opportunities for countries. And of course, the crisis of a globe and planet that's warming up, becoming unsustainably hot, and of course presenting with inclement weather disasters and all sorts of climate change disasters. Tubby, who's the CEO of Granville Energy, joins us for this conversation. Rowena Redfern, who's the CEO of Deloitte Africa, also joining us a little bit later on in this conversation, live from Davos. Tubby, let's begin here. What's going on in the world of energy right now, where there's a pull in the one direction around renewables, green energy and clean energy, and a continued fixation on the other hand with fossil fuel-based energy? The world is at a divergence on this question. The World Economic Forum presents an opportunity for countries, stakeholders, business to find itself on this question. Are they finding each other on this question?
Well, Oliver, that's a very interesting and important question you've raised. So what is going on in the world right now around energy or about energy? I think that when we are at the crossroads, we always have this tussle, right, between the future and the present, or the future and the past. When it comes to energy, we are at the crossroads where the world knows that we cannot continue the way we've done for the past, 100 years, using fossil fuel. It is not sustainable. However, we still need to maintain economic activities, economic development, as we transition over to a much cleaner energy future. And when this happens, you have those who are for and against, those who stand to benefit from the new energy framework or model, and those who stand to lose, who are going to fight. So that's why you see all these arguments going on globally about energy, renewable energy versus fossil fuel, drill, baby drill, and build, green infrastructure. My point is, as Africa, we need to look at both because we are at the crossroad. Crossroad basically means we have two different points or two different objectives meeting at a point, and that's exactly where we are at the moment.
Yeah. Importantly, and I think this is where we need to ask the question, is sometimes our energy needs are related to our domestic needs and economic conditions that we find ourselves. And different countries obviously approach this differently. If you look at Namibia, for instance, finding itself in a situation where it has made all these major oil and gas discoveries, which presents new economic opportunity similar to that of Guyana in the early 2010s. South Africa itself, in the Orange Basin, with vast oil and gas deposits yet to be explored and exploited, also finds itself in an opportunity where it's like, if we stick to fossil fuels, this is what is ahead for us. But we do not have the economic dividend to go after large-scale renewable projects without subsidies, grants, and loans from the West on this question. Subsidies, grants, and loans, by the way, which have been very slow coming, and President Ramaphosa has expressed frustration about this at previous COP engagements. What is the question that we're not asking, or what is the conversation that's not being had by producers, regulators, government leaders, and business as they converge in Davos around the world's energy future?
I think what is not asked, obviously, from an African perspective is understanding our unique situation in Africa and as African countries, where we have different economic reality. We have a very huge youthful population that needs employment. We have quite a significant portion of the poor communities of the world in Africa. They need a lot of social services the government has to provide. Where do we get the money from, right? Also, nobody's asking how we can use the resources we have as Africa right now in the form of fossil fuel. You spoke about Namibia, you spoke about Guyana, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, as well as Angola, and most recently, natural gas discoveries in Mozambique. How can we use these resources to pay forward for the future of Africa, including renewable energy? Because our future is not just energy. Obviously, it's the core of our infrastructure development, economic development. However, we have other social services that we need to pay for. Can we learn from other countries like Norway, who are endowed with enormous amount of renewable energy, clean energy that they use, and also at the same time endowed with enormous amount of fossil fuel? How have they done it? European countries have done it. So what can Africa do, that we can use to ensure that we don't have to depend on grants? However, we can generate income from the resources we have so that we can pay for our own future.
Yeah. Talk to us about the Norway model. What have they gotten right?
So they have a huge amount of hydro and thermal energy sources, right? To the extent that some of the world's technology companies have moved to Norway to build data centers close to these hydropower plants to reduce the cost of energy. Some that I'd like to talk about later on when it comes to AI and the impact on electricity. And also, they have wind resources. So Norway has wind power generation, hydropower plants. They have thermal power plants that they use to supply electricity to the country. Hence, they've electrified their automotive industry, so the whole transport system is usually electrified. But the funding of this infrastructure development came from money they made, resources generated from, income generated from resources like fossil fuel that they drill and export to countries who need it. So in our case, we have countries like China who are in need for fossil fuel to drive the economic growth. They don't have the resources. So we can sell to countries like China. That's the model that I think we should emulate. That way we can offset our carbon footprint.
It just seems counterintuitive that if we have fossil fuels that are usable, cheaply accessible to us, given that we own them, why export them and then go after very long-term, forward-looking, large-scale renewable energy projects when you could, in the immediate, just stabilize your own energy needs with the available fossil fuels?
No, absolutely. We're not just recommending that we export. We have domestic needs. For instance, Namibia might not have a huge need for oil and gas because of its population. South Africa has huge need for gas, bigger need for oil and gas than Namibia. Namibia has a smaller population. However, they have oil fuels that they can export. So if we look at regional economic activities, Namibia could be the supplier of fossil fuel to the sub-region or to the SADC region, for instance, while at the same time supporting the South African economy. And it will be able to use the green energy generated from solar power plants and from green hydrogen for its own domestic needs. So every country will have a unique situation. However, if we have a case like Nigeria that has oil and gas, there's a big need for fossil fuel to drive the industries in Nigeria. So Nigeria has the right to use its oil and gas resources for economic activities, while at the same time developing its solar and other green energy sources for future use.
Yeah. Give us a call. I'd love to hear your views on the 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. It's 20 minutes after 11 o'clock. Let's take a break. We continue on the other side of this.
Your best year starts at Dis-Chem with unbeatable deals on health foods for the whole family. Get 2+1 cheapest free on any Nature's Choice health products and get 20% instant discount on all health teas, hot drinks, honeys and spreads from brands such as Jacobs, Little B and more. Just swipe your benefit card at the till. Shop in-store and online for the lowest prices on the widest range of health foods. Now on until 16 February. Dis-Chem Pharmacies. Better health starts here.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Call us on 086 000 2032.
21 minutes after 11 o'clock, you're listening to the Talking Point. I'm in conversation with Tabby T. Tabby, the CEO of Granville Energy. And we're talking about the conversations playing out at Davos, in Davos, for the World Economic Forum, as countries, government leaders, business leaders are meeting to discuss a variety of issues, which includes energy and the future of energy and technology in Africa. Let's talk to that element, Tabby, technology. There are new and nascent technologies, and you hear these words being floated around: smart grid, green energy, hydrogen molecules, gray molecules, and these things mean things, but what do they actually mean?
Sit down. So, energy space, obviously, like every other industry, needs a lot of technology. Without technology, we cannot get the best out of it. Smart grid basically is adding technology on top of any electricity grid to be able to give us insight as far as consumption is concerned. We can do things like predictive analytics to know when the grid is overloaded, and we can take preemptive action before the grid fails. We can also factor in weather conditions, especially for renewable energy, right? Because renewable energies do not provide great base load. We need to know when the weather condition will be adverse that will not favor green energy or renewable energy like solar or wind, and we would then determine or decide when to tap into stored energy in battery storage devices. So it's a lot of decision making happening real time behind the scenes. The bottom line is we want to ensure grid stability and continuous supply of electricity. There is also artificial intelligence, which we can use. It adds to the level of beyond predictive analytics, where we can take historical data and the software, the systems can make decisions on their own without any human intervention. The bottom line is we want to ensure that we have grid stability and we can provide